Thank you to Dick Clark's for sponsoring this episode. Dick Clark's is a locally run and owned restaurant in Princeton, Indiana. They serve things from pizza and breadsticks to fried chicken and mashed potatoes. They even have ice cream to cool you off in the summer. So go try Dick Clark's today for an amazing food and good time. Thank you again to Dick Clark's. Welcome to episode 7. This is going to be a weird 3 episodes coming out. But I'm here with Addy with the CEO Kids this morning. And so we're going to ask all of them about their businesses. So we're going to start with Addy here. So Addy, tell us a little bit about yourself and what your business is.
Hi, I am Addy Maxheimer. I'm a junior at Gibson Southern. I'm 17, and my business is Addy's Bark Boutique. I make handmade macrame dog collars and matching bracelets for the owner.
Awesome. So Addy, tell us a little bit about what was the inspiration for your business. Obviously, you must like dogs somewhere deep inside you.
Deep inside. No, it's actually a very prominent love. I grew up with dogs in the house, and after my family dog passed away, I bought my best friend from the animal shelter, our local Gibson County Animal Shelter, on January 2nd of 2024. So I've had her a little over a year now. And we spend all of our time together. But with CEO, school, and work, and me being out of the house all the time, I miss her a lot. So that's where the love and start of my business.
About to say, because you want people to be able to have that bracelet on their arms and be able to think of their dog whenever they see it, right?
Right, because it's already a great thing to have a customized dog collar, but to have that extra touch of matching with them just really sets it off.
Yeah. Gotcha. So what is the production like for your dog collars? Like, how do you go about making them? Where do you get the product to actually make them? And things of that nature.
So I have ran into an issue with the cord, but for the most part, the cord comes from a variety of places, from Michael's, Hobby Lobby, so craft stores, along with Amazon. They're a savior. And everything else that I need, like the name tags, charms, and buckles, that all comes from Hobby Lobby. And I make them right in the comfort and care of my own living room. It's a wonderful time.
What are you doing to actually make them and weave them and do what you're trying to do with them?
Oh, these two lovely hands braid your collars, and it is a fun time. I also, you can't see them obviously, but I have on about an inch long of acrylic nails. So that does make it a little bit difficult, but I've got my nails done for a little over a year now. So I know how to work with it and do it all, but there's no machine or anything involved. I do braid everything and do all the knots by hand. So yeah.
About to say, you work very hard to make these bracelets, and I've heard a lot of the horror stories of you not so nicely putting it, not having a whole lot of fun with it sometimes.
No, sometimes it hasn't been the most fun, but we're still here. So
we're still grooving. So where can people find your dog collars and be able to purchase them or find them? Are you going to be doing any markets, things of that nature?
So right now, if you go on Facebook or Instagram and just look up Addy's Bark Boutique, on Instagram, it's no spaces, no underscores, anything, just Addy's Bark Boutique. You will find my page, and there is a Google Doc in the bio along with my Facebook page, and you can order a collar set through there. And hopefully with the weather turning up, like we've learned today, 70 degrees, I will be showing up at more local street markets and vendors, and I will post where I'll be at on my Facebook and Instagram pages.
Gotcha. And about to say, you're doing the flea market this Sunday or next Sunday?
I have no idea. Do you have any idea?
I don't have any
idea.
Don't
spring questions on me like that.
I'm sorry. So one last question here just to close it out. If you could be any piece of furniture, what would you be?
If I could be any piece of furniture, what would I be? I would definitely be an outside chair that people sit around with fires, because I feel like good memories are always created, outside, just good summertime chilling around the fire vibes.
With your dog?
With my dog, Indy. Indy's her name.
Indy's her name. We love Indy.
Yes, we do.
Thank you so much, Addy. This was awesome.
Of course. So, you're awesome.
You. Yep. Welcome to the second part of episode 7. I'm here with Dakota Kinsey. He is another CEO student. This will be all CEO kids in these episodes. So Dakota, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business so far.
Yeah, so my name is Dakota Kinsey. I am the ambassador for Hitchcock Visuals. They are a film and cinematography studio based in Evansville. I'm a senior at Gibson Southern. I'm huge on videography, cinema photography, anything technology, and just being an all-out creative thinker. So the business I'm creating or have created is Farlight Productions. It is a business that I came up with around when I was 12, 13 years old. It was by a different name, completely different crew, different goals and ideas, and it's evolved into something more professional.
Awesome. So, really, the huge question is, what was the inspiration for your business? Because this is obviously not a, I'll say, cheap hobby or something to get into. Obviously, I think that's how it started out for you, was a hobby, and now it has turned into an actual business. So, what was kind of the inspiration to go into this field?
Yeah, so well, when I was younger, I started out writing music. Started out listening to a bunch of EDM, and then I figured out that you could write music on a computer with not being able to play an instrument at all. That eventually led to me realizing that a lot of orchestral music now in the film industry is written by a MIDI mockup. So sample libraries that have been recorded and then brought into a computer and manipulated in that way. So I started out by learning how to write orchestral music, learned a lot of music theory, and eventually got mixed up with this animation studio on YouTube where I wrote the score for one of their biggest projects ever to this date. If you want to look at that, go to Songs of War on YouTube. And eventually I got into animation because of that. I loved lighting. I loved manipulating a 3D space and creating. Never got so much into the modeling aspect, but the idea of being able to create was always there. Eventually, I started watching short films that had been made on YouTube and was listening to those and how they went, and decided that I'll give live action a try. So the original plan was to start my own film studio at some point. Um, it wasn't until this year that I finally had the resources and the time to make that whole little goal and dream more of a reality. So this has been a leading thing from music all the way to film production.
Awesome. So, sounds like you started out this in a very young age and have really wanted to grow this even before you wanted it to be a business, which is awesome for you because you have, I definitely think, the drive to go further in your business than a lot of people here can say at CEO. So, how do you go about filming a production? I think you've done a few. I think you did one for Camp Carson back when the Polar Plunge had happened, and you've done a few other things. And I know you're also joining me with Joe Willage on his new podcast, which will be great to work with you. So, what is that kind of the process into how you go about filming something and doing that? That's something that I guess I can't really see that side of.
Yeah, so for starters, the most important thing is figuring out what your audience is going to be for whatever video you're trying to create. So if I'm making something that is tailored towards advertising to generation from like 14 to 16 or so on, a lot of this generation now is kind of stuck with short form videos, so 30 seconds or less, whereas a lot of people older than that are used to that maybe 1 to 3 minutes. So it all depends on that. Figuring out who you're actually trying to promote to. The process, though, depending on if it's a production that my studio is just doing on our own, like a short film, we do all of our stuff in-house. But if it is a commercial that we're filming for someone else, the Joe Whitledge project is a bit different, considering this is going to be more of like a broadcast, almost more broadcast style of recording rather than creating a commercial. So when creating a commercial or just a video in general, I like to sit down and spend a good 3 days brainstorming and then another day or so writing the screenplay. So a lot of times people won't make a screenplay for a commercial. They'll just make an outline. A screenplay is usually used in, Hollywood film production as a way to say the camera goes here. It's like in animation where you use a storyboard, your screenplay sort of replaces
So
that.
you're kind of laying out what you hope it will turn out to be.
Yeah. Your goal is to make it look the way your goal is to make it read through your mind on paper so you can see it real vividly in your head without there even being any imagery filmed yet. After that, it's simple enough. Grab a camera, start running and gunning, and then figuring out, get a couple takes here and there. Learning your software is a big thing. If you don't know what software you're using, so for example, I use both DaVinci Resolve and all of the Adobe CC software. And if you don't learn your software early on, then your workflow will be really slow and tedious. I know for me personally, the worst part about filming is editing. I despise going into the software and clipping stuff, splicing stuff together. It makes me so mad.
Man, I do that a little bit on this, and I can't stand it too, man.
Yeah,
I totally get
it
that.
is horrible, but it's part of it. So you just go from film to edit, review, any sound design, any music I have to write. That usually comes afterwards. Final render, and that's about it.
Gotcha. So, what do you hope your business can lead to, or can get you to where it is, or how big do you want it to get? Because obviously, with a hobby like this, there is an end goal in mind. So what is that end goal? Do you hope to, I don't know, have your own studio, be working on big movies, or work on smaller things, or kind of keep it here local and do a lot of local commercials? Is that what is your end goal with starting a business like this?
Yeah, so my goal after college is to hopefully work for a different studio.
Where are you going to college at?
I'm going to be spending some time at VU to start, but then transferring to Purdue is the goal after that.
Awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, where I'm going to be studying 3D animation and hopefully earning a bachelor's there. I may go after Purdue if I really want to spend more money on school. I may go to Full Sail University and get a master's in the 3D arts there. I'd like to work for, if I can, get a job at a big name studio like DreamWorks or Pixar, and work in the animation field whilst running Farlight Productions, not so much as a hobby. I want to continue filming commercials for local businesses, making money that way, but I want to use the money from the business to help fund the studio's live action projects. My goal for a while now has been to be a Hollywood film director. So eventually leading into filming for big name studios like Universal or Warner Brothers or whatever that may be. That's the dream. And I hope to use Farlight Productions as a way to keep practicing my craft, keep learning, keep being creative, and maybe build my way up there. Not going to film school for it. I can teach myself cinema photography and how to use a camera. But animation's a little different. So I'd like to get some good schooling in on that. And I'll keep the business going as long as I can. Who knows? Maybe it'll grow big enough to where I don't have to work for another studio and I can literally just run my studio and do what I want. If it even comes down to it to where my short films pop off, like on YouTube, and I make enough income off of that just from creating, then I'll stick with that and not worry about working for someone else.
Gotcha. So one last question just to round off your little section of this episode here. If you could be any piece of furniture, what would you be and why?
Any piece of furniture?
Furniture.
And why?
I've heard a lot of very interesting answers for this one.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't want to be a chair. I don't want people's butts on my face.
That's pretty fair. I can agree with that.
Let me think. A piece of furniture. I think I'd be a table. I'm not gonna lie.
A table. All right, give me why. Why do you want to be a table?
A lot of I don't know. I guess if I were to be a table, I'd want to be a table in my house because a lot of cool technology gets sat there, so you get to see all the cool stuff, I guess.
Alrighty. I'll take that answer.
Yeah.
That's a different one.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I love it. Well, thank you, Dakota. I really appreciate you sitting down with me, and we look forward to seeing what your business can do.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome to the third part of episode 7 with the CEO Kids. I'm here with Elizabeth Steckler. So, Elizabeth, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business so far.
Okay. Yep, my name's Elizabeth. I'm a senior at Gibson Southern, and my business is called Threaded Hill Designs. It's a sewing and tailoring business out of Hopstead.
Awesome. So, what was the inspiration to bring your business and start it and do what you do now?
I've been sewing for about 11 years now, and it's always been something that I've enjoyed, and I do a lot in the summer when I'm out of school, especially for 4-H. So when I was trying to find a business, I was looking at skills that I already had, and sewing was just kind of there. And it's a dying art. A lot of people don't do it anymore. Like, you would think that your grandma sews or your great grandma sews, but a lot of young people don't sew. So it was something that has a need in the community.
Gotcha. So, where did you learn to like sew and tailor and do all the stuff you do? Because I say you fixed one of my jackets, and I know you've helped a lot of the CEO kids and even helped with some prom dresses, I believe. So, where did you learn to do all of that stuff that a lot of people don't know how to do these days?
When I was younger, I think about 2nd grade, I started walking over to my grandma's neighbor's house, and she had a quilting and curtain business. So I started sewing with her, and then I ended up taking lessons from her for probably about 10 years. And yeah, I've been sewing for 4-H, and I sew for other people. So that's kind of where.
What has been your favorite piece of clothing to work on? I know you've done prom dresses. I know you've made a few dresses and a few things for Noah as well. So, like, what are some of your favorite things that you've been able to work on and maybe even create?
My favorite thing is actually not really starting from scratch. It's taking older clothes, whether it's like recycled clothes or clothes that don't fit you anymore, and kind of giving them new life, like changing what they look like or how they fit you. So a lot of times people will just bring me clothes because I have a lot of sisters, and they're like, here, take our old clothes. We don't want them anymore. So I take them and kind of fix them up and make them different.
Awesome. So, one last question here, just to round this little part out. If you could be any piece of furniture, what would you be and why?
I honestly have no idea. I would say maybe a kitchen table, because I feel like all the best memories happen in our kitchen at our house. So kitchen table.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me, Elizabeth. This was great to hear a little bit more about your business, and hope it goes well. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Stop.
Thank you to Dick Clark's for sponsoring this episode. Dick Clark's is a locally run and owned restaurant in Princeton, Indiana. They serve things from pizza and breadsticks to fried chicken and mashed potatoes. They even have ice cream to cool you off in the summer. So go try Dick Clark's today for an amazing food and good time. Thank you again to Dick Clark's.